School Board is called to order at 5:35 p.m. Tuesday, February the 5th, in room 137 of the Edison Building. Present at the board table is Mr. Michael Munoz, Superintendent of School, and is a non-voting ex officio member of the board. Also present is Ms. Wendy Edgar, the Assistant Board Clerk. Ms. Edgar, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Amundson?
Here.
Chair Barlow?
Here.
Ms. Marvin?
Here.
Ms. Nathan?
Here.
Mr. Schlusner?
Here.
Ms. Seelinger?
Here.
Ms. Workman?
Here.
Let's stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is an action item 2.01, approval of agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Excuse me.
Are there any changes?
I'm out. Yes, there is one change. Item 5.01, approval of teacher efficacy and knowledge predicting outcomes of English language learners research study has been reviewed. That individual was not able to make it tonight, so we'll bring that person back at another meeting.
Move approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Announcements and communications, 3.01 recognitions. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, tonight we're extremely excited to recognize another one of our teachers that's accomplished the national certification, and being a former superintendent that has national certification, I'm well aware of the amount of work that goes into receiving that certification. So at this time, I'm going to have Brenda Wichman, Executive Director, Curriculum Instruction, to introduce our teacher.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I am going to ask Mrs. Jessica Seafelt, fourth grade teacher at Bamber Valley, to join me up here, and I'm just going to love her up a little bit and let you know what that really means to be nationally board certified. It is it's a deep, reflective process. So Jessica, in order to do this, needed to complete many steps of this process. She had to analyze her practices in the areas of differentiation, teaching practices, learning environment, and being a reflective practitioner. She had to take a test of all of her content knowledge to be a middle-level practitioner for grades 3 through 6. The content knowledge test is a computer-based assessment that asks her to demonstrate her knowledge of practices for teaching in all of the content areas. And teachers who earn this must demonstrate knowledge of developmentally appropriate content for their grade level span, for which Jessica included children ages 7 to 12 in the areas of language arts, math, science, social studies, history, the arts, and health. I'm not done yet. There, she did more. She had to demonstrate that she was a reflective practitioner by developing and applying the knowledge she has of her students. Information about her students was gathered from a variety of sources. She had to demonstrate that she used her assessment results to effectively plan to positively impact her students' learning. And she also had to share evidence of how she collaborated with families and caregivers, the community, her colleagues, and all contributors of her learning community to advance her students' learning and growth. She had to submit 2 video recordings of her teaching while also providing her instructional materials and her analysis and reflection of the lesson. She was evaluated on her demonstration of her practices and analysis as it related to her instruction, student engagement, and the learning environment. So this was no easy task. I'm pleased to say that I was Jessica's principal during this time, and when she came to me and said, "What do you think?" I was, of course, why wouldn't you do this? And I never doubted that you would pass and earn this certification. So it's a big process, and we're very proud of you, Jessica. I think you're number 10 in Rochester Public Schools. I did some digging into that, and not everybody who earned that certification is still with us, but we are fortunate and blessed to have you as a member of RPS. We are very proud of you. Thank you.
Well, Jessica, I'm going to probably, as board chair, exercise my right to ask you to say a few words.
I would say the two people that probably helped me, well, I'll give three, that helped me through this the most. Brenda kept cheering me on the entire time. Every little step, she's like, I don't know what you just did, but I'm sure you did a great job. Alyssa Sherry is here. She works in my classroom, and she kept me sane through the entire thing. And then my husband, he survived it somehow. There were a lot of tears, but he helped me through it. So,
Thank you. Congratulations.
thank you.
I appreciate it. Well, again, congratulations. I mean, and what a perfect example to set for your children, so nice job. All right, this week we're celebrating National Counselors Week, so to start off, I do want to play a video.
Does his body give any clues as to how he's feeling? What do you think?
This is the time in the kids' lives where they're kind of becoming themselves, having a self-concept of how they're going to be academically. They're learning about their own characters, problem-solving skills.
There are so many needs that our children come to school with that either prevent them or hinder their ability to learn. And we've been so fortunate to have a fantastic school counselor at our school that supports a number of things.
My whole job is being able to be with the students, working in guidance lessons, in classroom lessons, working with them in groups.
We talk a lot, and we just have like this trust that I know that you'll always be there if I need something. Even if I'm not at school, I can email you and ask, like, can I come see you on Monday?
They spend some time there, get the stuff worked out, and then they can focus better during class.
We offer students lots of different ways to blossom and get support.
Just being able to talk to them about what they're feeling, and they're just there for us.
School counselors can really collaborate with administrators, collaborating with teachers and parents, really to just help kind of bring a more holistic approach to the kids and help them kind of on their way in their academic, their careers, and their social emotional learning.
Having like a bad day or something's going on at home, they could always like go talk to the counselors about it.
Are important for our students because we get the opportunity to address the personal social needs of the student so that they can get back into the class and be successful and be able to show what they're capable of.
We really could not function the way that we function without our school counselors. So it's as an important job as we have at our entire building, and we're just so grateful that we have one.
As I said, we were celebrating National School Counselors Week this week. The week is sponsored by the American School Counselors Association, and it highlights the unique contributions of school counselors within the United States school systems and the tremendous impact they have on helping students achieve school success and plan for career. School counselors are actively engaged in helping students examine their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents. They work in a partnership with parents as they encounter the challenges of raising children in today's world. School counselors focus on positive ways to enhance students' social, personal, educational, and career development, and work with teachers and other educators to provide an educational system where students can realize their full potential. School counselors are certified, experienced educators with a master's degree in guidance and counseling. The combination of their training and experience make them an integral part of our total educational system. So I don't know if we have any counselors in the audience. If you could please stand to represent the whole group. As a former counselor, both at the elementary and secondary level and a building principal, I know how valuable they are to our team and to our students. So we're very fortunate to have these individuals in our system. Okay, at this time, I'm going to call Amy Ike, Executive Director of Community Ed, and she's going to introduce some students that have a huge accomplishment.
Thank you, Superintendent Munoz. I'm going to just say a couple of words and then turn it over to our team from Boys and Girls Club. But I asked Superintendent Munoz if we could share this tonight because sometimes you don't get to hear some of the successes in the after-school world when they happen outside of our school buildings. But I can tell you it's a two-way street, that after school contributes to academic success and vice versa. Their success in the school day also helps them to be successful in the after-school world. So one of our community partners that provides top-notch after-school programming is the Boys and Girls Club. They are our named partner on our 21st Century Grant. We work very closely together, and I had the opportunity recently to attend the Youth of the Year celebration and was excited to learn that the candidates this year are all from Rochester Public Schools. So I wanted to bring them to you so that you could see who they are and hear a little bit more about what they've accomplished. So first I'm going to introduce Amy Johnson, who's the Academic Success Coordinator at Boys and Girls Club. She'll tell you a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Amy. Since 1947, Youth of the Year has been Boys and Girls Clubs of America's premier recognition program, celebrating the extraordinary achievements of club members. The Youth of the Year serves as both an exemplary ambassador for Boys and Girls Club youth and as a strong voice for all of our nation's young people. The journey to being named National Youth of the Year begins locally and progresses to the state, regional, and national levels. To achieve the title of Youth of the Year on any level, club members must embody the values of leadership and service, academic excellence, and healthy lifestyles. Our 4 candidates carefully put together 3 essays highlighting their personal strengths, their club experience, and their vision for America's youth. They were also asked to put together a speech which they presented in front of community members, board members, staff, and their families. This year, the judges selected Tiara Felder as our local Youth of the Year. She will travel on to the state competition in March at the Mall of America. Tiara has already earned a college scholarship through our local competition, and we wish her the best of luck at state. We are extremely proud of all of our candidates and the hard work they put in. They are all great role models for our younger members and represent the Boys and Girls Club of Rochester professionally and confidently. So now I'd like to have our candidates come up and just say their name, what school they go to, and one thing they learned during the Youth of the Year process.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm His Majesty Leonard. I go to Century High School, and one of the main things I learned from Youth of the Year is that is to keep your own opinion, is to just channel your own thoughts. I did a lot of this, and keeping my values and just knowing who I am and what I like to think.
Hi, I'm Crystal Gomez, and I go to Century, and a thing that I learned is that the sooner you get started on planning your future, the more successful and easy it'll be.
Hi, I'm Tanisha Chitseko, and I go to Mayo High School, and one thing that I learned by being a candidate of the Youth of the Year is how to confidently express myself through my words.
And Tiara had play practice, so she couldn't be with us tonight, but I know you'll join me in congratulating these young people.
3.02 Equity Update. This is informational. Mr. Munoz?
Yes, tonight we're going to have Julie Rusick and our equity specialist come up and share a little bit about what they do in our schools, in our community. So at this time, I'll invite them up. And Don, as well, our Native American Indian liaison, is also joining?
Yes.
All right.
Happy snow day.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here to talk to you a little bit about the work that we've been doing as a team this school year. It's been a wonderful year working with this amazing group of people that you see up here. These people love our students more than I can put into words. They have drive to do whatever it takes to help all of our students be successful, and it has just been a real honor to watch them work. They never say no, rarely, almost never. We've been working together to build an infrastructure of a strong team all school year. You'll hear more about that in just a few minutes. And they have a pretty large caseload. As you may already know, our equity specialists serve different tracks through our high school systems, the Mayo track, Century track, and JM track. And Don, our American Indian liaison, serves students district-wide. That's a big job for 4 people to do, and they do it every day with a smile on their faces. And they always have time to stop and talk to staff, administrators, students, of course, and anyone that may be moving around. So I'm very grateful to them for all of the work that they have put into this school year and past school years, and I'm going to give them the floor to share a little bit about what we've been doing this year.
Hello, my name is Dawn. I'm the American Indian Liaison. A lot of people want to know what my last name is and how to properly pronounce it. So it is Burocker, but please call me Dawn. It's a complicated last name. First and foremost, I want to recognize that I've been very appreciative of this entire team. They've helped me navigate the district. I've had a lot of questions being new to the district, and once again, like Julie said, they never say no, and it's been a blessing for me. We meet weekly, and that also helps me tremendously. We discuss students, bounce ideas off of each other, and that helps me out a lot because I can't make it to every school. Where if I do have a question about a student, one of these people will make it to that school if I can't get there and help me out. So I really appreciate them, and they are an awesome team to work with.
Hi, everyone. I'm Willie Tipton. Actually, I have mail in all of their feeder schools, and the question I'm going to talk to you about is we us consulting with teachers, administration, and other staff and community partners regarding cultural and historical backgrounds of students and families. And that's important. And after listening to that young lady earlier when she was speaking, that kind of, it's never too late to make changes in your life. And that's the beautiful thing. And just recognizing that we actually need to make some changes. And just being able to work with administration and staff and have those honest conversations in regards to culture and historical trauma and things of that area, and understanding that it's generationally how it affects and impacts kids when you don't even know it. So that's why it's so important for us to really to get to know our kids and know our families in order for us to truly to be able to help them. The importance of shared values. Understanding each other. Our values are so different, but yet they're so unique at the same token that we can, to share those values with one another, how impactful is that? And I think that a lot of our kids can benefit from learning not only just of sharing themselves, but learning about someone else. And a lot of times that tends to not happen, but I think the more that we do that, I'm noticing that, that kids tend to be more receptive for help and guidance, and they feel more to be accepted as a whole to be in the schools. Sometimes culture shock. You know, a lot of times we have kids, you know, coming from all over the world, but you have kids that come from different cities, and it's just totally different from a kid that's coming from Chicago or even from the Twin Cities and coming here. So that culture shock in itself, and really helping them and the families, teaching them how to navigate through the system down here, is really important for our kids and our families. And cultural relevance. You know, we're all relevant, and we should all value one another as such. And the only way we do that is through building relationships with one another. And I think that this team of people at this table here, we work really hard, and we're all different, but yet at the same time, we're all on the same mission, and our mission is to help Rochester Public Schools become one of the best systems in the country. And the only way we're going to do that is by working together and loving these kids and these families as such.
I have number 3, working as a team at sites. We work as a team. As he already said, we meet every Monday morning, and it's been good to be able to talk about sometimes personal issues with someone else. Our positions in themselves is kind of unique, so it's good to be able to talk to someone else that has the same position as you. Sometime about personal things. I've shared personal things with Willie about my own personal life, marriage and things, gotten advice from him. We had a few deaths amongst the team where we supported each other. Also, recently, I believe it was around Halloween time, you had an incident in one of the high schools where we went over as a team to support the school. So we work as a team, providing professional development. Ms. Heglin has provided professional development for some of the teachers here in the district. We all continue to talk to staff and administrators and different people in the school system, and even on our own personal time about what's going on and how to support kids. Facilitating conversations. I had a great conversation with a young lady today. I did a talk over at Century High School, and it was talking about off of a book, The Power of Significance. I'm reading that with a lot of kids here in the district, just talking about how to use your time wisely, whether it's in school or out of school, but we all gonna pass away at some time, and it's important that you use your time wisely. And there was a young lady that came to me afterwards, and the words I had spoken during that conversation, it really moved her, and it moved her to tears, where she shared some personal things with me afterwards, but I was able to encourage her that she had went through a breakup, but I was able to encourage her that, you know, this trouble won't last always, and you can continue to move forward, and everything happened for a reason, helping her to get through that tough situation. She gave me a hug, and we moved on. But those are just some ways that we support kids, creating safe spaces for kids. The young lady that won the Youth of the Year, she's actually in Rhythm Nation. Rhythm Nation is a performing arts program. We put on benefit concerts. We've been doing that now since 2009. The young lady, she's in Rhythm Nation. She was with me earlier. I didn't even know she won Youth of the Year. She didn't mention that to me. So, but that'll be something that I'll congratulate her about come tomorrow when I see her at Century. Another thing, brainstorming solutions. As we already said, we bounce ideas off each other. Willie may have a good idea, and I say, that's a good idea. I'm going to try it with my kids. I'm sure they've used some things that I've mentioned. I've used things that Ms. Martin has used, and we learn from her as well. So I think we are a good team, and we work together and support the kids.
Hi, everybody. My name is Martine Hagler. I'm the JM Equity Specialist with the JM Feeders. I came on the team last January, so I just celebrated 1 year on the team. I'm really excited to be here, so thank you for listening to us. This equity team, when the position was open last year, I thought, oh, I want this, because what better than to do equity work in the public schools, because I think the entire education system is about equity. And so my desire since I came on the team is to try to see how can we put a comprehensive plan together that we can show all the work that we are doing as a team for the district through the schools so that we not only share stories and give each other advice, but that we can go back and see the work that we have done. And that will be just kind of a crown jewel in the district's crown. Is that right? Okay, so perfect. Okay, so because I know that there are many schools that right now are looking at equity work. And so we will be an avant-garde in a district comprehensive plan. We have so much wealth in between the 5 of us at this table. We've done so much work already. We have carved out the role of equity in the district with our administrators, the student support services, and it's such a joy to work with different people in the district and with the students. So I would like to see if we can continue to create that plan with Julie and other people district-wide so that when we move forward in each school, things look alike and we offer the students an equitable service. So thank you so much for listening to us.
Just to tag on to that, we, on our weekly Monday meetings, have regularly had guest speakers that have come from other departments to fill us in on information, updates, and the next meeting is with Aflabi Runshaway, who will be talking to us about the work of Great Lakes Equity and how we can start to braid that together with the work of our equity specialists. So it was very appropriately timed that we talk to you tonight and then meet with him on Monday and continue that work. The one that I'm going to talk to you a little bit tonight about is developing a Rochester Families program in collaboration with some of our community partners, and really figuring out a program that is responsive to our students and families, that sees them, hears them, listens to them, values what they have to say, and gives them an opportunity to have a voice in our district and what our students need. So we have spent a couple of evenings brainstorming, talking about what we want this authentic experience to look like for our students and families. We're in the process of working with some community partners to see how we can tap into groups that are already meeting with some of our families throughout the district so that it doesn't become another meeting, so that we can push together, collaborate with one another, and really work to build trust amongst our families and family groups and work with them to provide a Rochester Families ongoing program that is responsive to our students and families. And the final one we're going to all share. We've been talking a lot to you tonight about things that we've been working on as a team. Each one of these people at this table provides special services in their own niche, but tonight we really felt strongly about talking to you about the things that we're doing together as a team. There are certain things that fit together when we talk all together, and there are other things that specifically Dawn has a big role to play. So if we can support her in any way, that is our goal through our team, knowing that she also has some other specific work that she is working on as well. But under that, we have talked a lot about being more visible, being visible to our students, to our families, to our staff, to our administration. And so being in front of you tonight is one of those opportunities. Having the opportunity to be in front of our building leadership happened earlier, about snow days get in my way, a month ago maybe. And then numerous professional development opportunities that have already occurred and will continue to occur.
Yeah, so far with my feeders, what I have done specifically is provide, and Toby mentioned it, professional development for some of the teachers who are willing. I have provided professional development in Washington JA, John Marshall, and Bishop on February 18. So I partner with Curriculum and Instruction and through the teachers to provide restorative practice circles training. Because I found that they are very effective in the schools to give the students a safe space to talk, but to provide respect, responsibility, help them to know how to repair harm, and then help them when they have committed an infraction in their schools, how to be reintegrated in the classroom, and with their relationships, be it friends or teachers. I enjoy the work, and we'll pass it on to Willie, because I don't have anything else to say.
I'm really excited to be doing some presentations as well in some of my schools. Mostly we'll be talking about social and emotional education, and as it evolves to cultural relevance. And the cool part about that is that to be able to have these type of presentations, and for the teachers to be able, my whole point of doing it is when we have these conversations, these open conversations, and sometimes these conversations are not comfortable, but for them to be able to talk to me afterwards, or rather be over a cup of coffee or come to the classroom, wherever it may be, the conversation can continue. If they're feeling that something was missed, they can actually have that conversation with me because they know that I'm going to be in their building at some time or another. And I think in doing that, I think the relationships that I've actually built within all of my schools has been really rewarding, and times overwhelming, because there's so many people now that actually are on board with it. So everyone wants to have this opportunity to grow. We're trying to grow together. So that makes the job a lot easier, but yet at the same time, like I said, we're all in this together and trying to work together. We're all striving for the same point. So it's a great opportunity. But I want to thank you two guys for having us again, giving us an opportunity to present to you once again. Thank you very much. And I'll pass it to Mr. Taylor.
Something that I'm doing that's kind of unique. Even tomorrow, we have a trip to Institute of Production and Recording. That's a college in the cities. This will be the fifth trip that college trip that we've taken this year. So far, we had well over close to 150 kids that have gone on these college trips so far. And even tomorrow, I'm scheduled to only have 20 kids, but I've given out probably 60 permission slips. So I think it'll be way more that will attend that trip tomorrow. But the kids love those opportunities to see colleges and step foot on the college. For most of them, it's their first time. Some of them have gone previous years and still decide to go back and actually made a commitment after going back and saying, hey, I actually want to attend this college. So that's been very beneficial. Something new that I've started this year, I worked with Mr. Sanyu, who's over the principal at Lincoln. We're doing alumni nights where we have the kids that have gone on from middle school or high school to come back and have conversations with the kids on how to navigate high school. We as adults a lot of times can tell kids how to do it, but they believe more so when another young person tell them about how high school go, the different things that they can be involved in, the different pitfalls to avoid. So we had a gathering over at Lincoln, and we had probably close to 60 kids at that gathering, and you wouldn't believe that like $80 fed that many people. But it was really good, and we plan on doing another one very soon.
So one of the things that I wanted to focus on with this position when I first started was relationships, not only with the students, but with staff, teachers, administrators. And so I've really focused on that, and they've actually started reaching out to me, and it's been a blessing. Outside of doing regular group activities with the Native students and meeting with them one-on-one, I've done presentations inside schools to all RPS students, not just Native American students, and I find that to be really, really important because I think that if they see me just like them and see us just like them, it'll stop a lot of the issues that are happening because I firmly believe that it's in our differences that we bear a commonality, and I've been blessed that people have started reaching out and having me come into their classrooms and talk, and I love it. The students sometimes get shocked when I tell them I have a golden retriever. Sometimes I pose the question, what kind of dog do you think I have? And I get like, a Rottweiler or Chihuahua, and I do that on purpose because I actually have a golden retriever, which is, and that's kind of sometimes how I start the conversations off. But I think it's important to get in there and let them see that I'm just like them and I'm not really different. So thank you for your support.
Any questions from members of the board?
If I may comment, and I've seen pictures of that golden retriever. Very cute. I do get to work with some of these folks here and there, and it is such a joy, and I appreciate everything you do. Martine, I'd like to put you on the spot, if I may, because I heard you speak at one of our family engagement meetings about playing chess with some young women. Do you remember what you told us about that? And what struck me about it is that you were talking about not only making relationships with students, but you were seeing their critical thinking skills. Yeah. And as we're working on our graduate profile and the things that we want in our students, I want to make sure that we know that your work is really grounded. It's not fluffy. It's not extra. It's not, just that. But that was a really great example for me to hear. I don't know if you want to share more than that, but no. She was amazing that she was playing chess with them.
And it was a first-timer.
Yes, it was
who
a
had never
first-timer.
played before and really showed.
It was incredible.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
Mr. Munoz.
Yeah, just a couple things. First, I want to thank Julie for taking this team over. I know she is doing a much better job than I did. I used to supervise them and really didn't have the time that I probably needed to do it, so I appreciate that. I know probably when we informed her that was her duty, I know Julie, she said she was very happy about it.
Tattoo.
So she's done a great job. And another thing, they mentioned that they presented at a leadership meeting, and I don't remember the specifics of the activity that they did, but really it was designed for the people in the audience, the leadership group, to think about something they've done really well or somebody. And every one of them made a comment about the great work that this group is doing in their schools. The attention was supposed to be on the audience, but it was really, and it just every one of them, one after another, talked about the great work they're doing. So I appreciate that. And one of the things that I think we have to do as a system is that every student, no matter what color they are, where they come from, need to know that we value them and we value what they bring to our system. And these people help us as staff understand that and teach us how to do that. So we appreciate all your work you do. I know we probably should have another 3 times of you, but
Okay.
The key word to that was should have. But thank you. You guys do great work.
Thank you.
Other board members? Questions, input? Thank you.
Thank you.
Informational, Rochester Public School Foundation, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, at this time, I'm going to call Ginny and Donna up to announce the foundation grant winners.
Hi, I'm Ginny Amundson, a board member of the Rochester Public School Foundation. The Rochester Public School Foundation is a nonprofit community foundation that connects the community and our schools to advance and inspire educational opportunities for all students. Our main activity is awarding grants to support innovative enhancements to curriculum that may not otherwise occur due to limited resources. Since 1988, over $500,000 in grants have been awarded. Tonight, we are here to present 7 grants that total $12,385. Now, the funds to support these grants come from personal and business donations, including the Rochester Public School District payroll deduction. We also do fundraiser, and our big one is Boo Fest, and we have established memorial funds. Some of these funds include the Mike Ladden Fund, which was established in 1994 to fund creative educational excellence through innovative participation and education quality in Rochester Public Schools, while providing assistance for students who may not otherwise be able to participate. Another fund is the Jacqueline Goodyear Fund. It was established in 1988 to support fine arts projects and opportunities in the public schools which are not traditionally part of the curriculum. Such projects may include sponsored musical and theatrical performances, art exhibits, field trips to art museums, and musical and theatrical performances. The fund was established in memory of Jacqueline Goodyear, who joined the Dorsey and Whitney Law Firm in 1982. This year, a new fund is the Mayo High School Class of 1988 Reunion Fund, And we also have the Athletics and Fine Arts Fund, which was used. After our award winners receive this, they do have some follow-up requirements. They will provide a summary of their project with pictures wherever possible, share the outcomes at a team or staff meeting to spread their good work, and to share it with media in partnership with the district's communication department. So if our award, not everyone could be here tonight, but if those who are here would come forward to accept the award. So the first project that we awarded was Willow English learners are going to visit the Somalis plus Minnesota exhibit, and that's Willow Creek, and Josie Wasmut wrote the grant, and she is not able to be here. A little summary, the school's 130 English learner students will visit the Minnesota History Center to view the Somalis plus Minnesota exhibit. This will help inspire and empower students to succeed in a diverse community by broadening knowledge of their own culture, and will ultimately boost tolerance and understanding among peers and the community. The second award is Humans of John Marshall, and that was $2,500 for John Marshall High School, and Linda Becker was there. Come forward, Linda. And just a little bit about your project.
Yep. Lisa Becker, John Marshall High School, graphic design, digital arts teacher. I've developed a project that involves an artist residency. The photographer of Humans of Minneapolis is going to be working with my graphic design students. In fact, our first remote meeting will be on Thursday by Skype. And she'll be doing kind of the same format as what she does with her own work. And this will represent our John Marshall youth by showcasing their uniqueness. We'll be taking photographs of them. And there'll be the youth of John Marshall will also be interviewed, and they'll have a statement that goes along with their photograph. Rochester Art Center has agreed to exhibit large-scale photographs, 32 of them in May. So this will represent our uniqueness, our demographics at John Marshall in an artistic way. Okay.
The third grant is called Moving to Learn the Smart Way, and that's at Harriet Bishop Elementary, and there are many classroom teachers plus the principal, Jerry Groller. They could not be here tonight. Summary is the kindergarten staff will implement a multisensory approach to learning called SMART, Stimulating Maturity Through Accelerated Readiness Training. The SMART curriculum provides brain stimulation to improve learning readiness, literacy, and math skills, helping develop and enhance physiological and neurological readiness skills that students need to succeed in school, especially in an era when physical activity and recess have been reduced and screen time has been increased. The fourth project is Transition Skill Development for students with developmental cognitive delays, mild to moderate, and that is also at John Marshall. And Chad Otterness is our project director. And Chad, if you would come.
Hi, I'm Chad. I wrote my grant to give opportunities for students that are in my classroom. I primarily work with students that have cognitive delays and autism. And part of the activities in my grant will be going out to do community outings to give my students exposure to areas in the community that they can connect to as young adults recreationally and connecting with community resources, whether it's the mall, connecting with other resources so that they can develop and use public transportation and move about the community. And I'm going to try to design activities that are going to be fun and fulfilling and help them to become lifelong learners for all. And it impacts high school students and their families.
The next one is called Music and Relationships, and it is from the Rochester Alternative Learning Center, and Nicole Wibstadt is here to accept that.
We'd really like to thank the Foundation tonight for giving us this opportunity. As you all know, the students at the Alternative Learning Center are underserved students. Some of the things that we're really trying to work on this year are increasing our mental health and wellness strategies for every student in our program and looking at teaching social emotional skills. We also happen to not have a music program. So we had the idea of partnering with a local nonprofit called Healing Rhythms to give our students both the opportunity to learn music skills, which is something that they've stated that they are interested in and want to work on, and also work on their social emotional learning at the same time. So we're very grateful to have this opportunity, and we will look forward to inviting you to a community performance when that date and time is set. Thank you.
Our sixth grant is a mobile point of sale system, and that is at the Rochester Academy for Independent Living. And Teresa Gertz is here to talk about that.
Good evening. Teresa Gertz, job developer for the special ed high school students. So I wrote a grant for a mobile point of sale. It's for the snack cart, which for RAIL, it's the transitional students 18 to 21 years of age with a variety of disabilities. So currently they are using a very old battery-operated cash register, which works for about a year, and now they're on to a calculator. So in order to really experience real-world skills, I wanted them to be able to actually use a regular cash register. So it's going to be a touchscreen iPad. It's going to have a square. They can swipe it. We're hoping to increase sales with using credit cards from staff. And it's really a good tool for students to use because they get to work on their customer service skills, greeting customers, saying goodbye, thanking for their purchase. We always encourage them to do a little marketing and talking about the products, so they learn that's important as well. Plus working on their math skills, counting money. So really appreciative of this opportunity to be able to buy the new technology for the students, and I'm really hoping it'll transition into developing the vocational skills and help them get those jobs out in the community. So thank you.
And our last grant is the Lata de Coffee Shop, which is the Rochester Alternative Learning Center and Apex Recovery School. And the director is Amy Stites. Can you talk to her? Okay.
Amy couldn't make it tonight. She's working on a grad school class this evening, but asked me to accept this award also. Apex Recovery School serves students that are working on their chemical health concerns. One of their large needs is to provide space for them to have an alternative peer group. If you can imagine, some of their typical outside of school activities, if they don't have a safe place to be, are not always on the path that they want to remain. And so by providing them an updated space within our school, which will include having a fancier coffee maker, kind of a coffee shop type feel, some stage equipment, and we're also looking at partnering with that music grant to offer some more music opportunities and just a safe space for them to be spending some time with our community partners after school. So again, thank you.
So we were able to fund this using some of our grants. The Ladin grant were used for the point of sale system and the coffee shop. The Goodyear grant was used for the music and relationships grant. The Mayo Reunion Fund was used for the Willow EL students. The Athletic and Fine Arts was used for the Moving to Learn. We are currently moving from one grant cycle to 2 per year. So the application for the next cycle will be available late February to March, and the winners will be announced at the end of this school year. I would like to thank the district for their support, both in allowing us to have the payroll deduction option, which has been successful, and Boo Fest, they let us use facilities at Century High School, which is a wonderful opportunity for us. So are there any questions from board members? So thank you for letting us come and let you know about the wonderful, innovative opportunities that our staff is giving to our students.
Okay, 3.04, above and beyond, Mr. Munoz.
All right, each month we recognize staff who have been nominated for Above and Beyond, and this actually started out as more of an internal opportunity for staff to recognize their fellow colleagues, and then eventually we open it up and we have parents and community members and staff nominating individuals. So these are the individuals that were recommended for the month of December, and I'm going to read you a couple examples. The first one is Carrie Hawkinson, the assistant principal at Mayo High School. Miss Hawkinson's care for her staff is outstanding. On December 21st, 2018, I suddenly became ill. Miss Hawkinson recognized I would not be able to safely drive myself home. She arranged for the nurse to get me to my vehicle in a wheelchair, a teacher, my son, to drive me home in my vehicle, and she followed in her vehicle to return the two of them to school. Her concern for my welfare and my safety, as well as the community, was greatly appreciated and an indication of her care and concern for all staff at Mayo High School. The second one is Jean Roth from Century High School. I want to recognize Miss Roth, my daughter's AP Human Geography teacher. My daughter has been so inspired by her this year. She has stayed after school several times to talk with her when she has questions. My daughter asked me if we could buy her a gift card and told me she wrote her a letter that I have attached. So I'm going to read parts of the letter. It's a very long letter, so I'm not going to read the whole letter, but just parts. She definitely goes above and beyond. Here's the letter. Dear Mrs. Roth, I'm writing this letter not only to thank you for being such a teacher, a person, but because of how much you inspire me as a person. When I walk into your class every day, I know I'm able to learn something and not feel excluded because of what you've told me. From the first day of that class, I was terrified to take an AP class because of how I predicted the class setting to be like, but after your many inspirational words, I gave it a chance, and I don't regret it at all. You're definitely someone I can relate to as a person by your hard work ethic and your endless care for others. I just want to give you a huge thanks to all your words that are so appreciated and have meant so much to me. In this semester, I've learned to look at the world in a whole different perspective because of you and everything you've told me. You seriously are an incredible person and someone that has helped me think of the kind of person I want to be when I grow up. So congratulations, and I think we'll pick a, oh no, I don't want to pick a winner because then I have one of these individuals do that.
So the winner would be number 9, and that would be Jody Henning from Bishop School.
Thank you.
And I just at this time would like to thank Pasquale's Pizza because they help us with the gift certificates that we give out for this. Thank you.
Moving on, 3.05, 2018-19 School Board Committee Assignment Updates. First, I should mention that new committee assignments will be made known this week via email. But our current board members who already have existing assignments, do you have any updates you'd like to provide?
First of all, are there any student school board members here? Okay, good. We had a couple of kids who were going to report on student school board, and I suggested they stay home because the weather. So thanks, wherever you are, kids, thanks for listening to me. But thanks to all of you for being here. Just drive carefully when you go home. Second thing, a few of us went to a gathering for the APEX program, and we just heard a little bit about that. It's a program housed in the Rochester Alternative Learning Center for students who have addiction and chemical abuse issues. It is an amazing program. We learned a lot about it. We listened to a graduate from the program who's determined that without the kind of education and the kind of support she got there, she would still be using. But she is on her way to college. Her future looks wonderful. But I think it's a program that a lot of people don't know about, but it's critically important, especially in this era when there is way too much use among everybody, especially our kids.
Any other updates?
A number of us were at the Legislative Forum on Saturday where we
got to hear several presentations to, most of our area legislators were there, so they could hear the concerns that our public schools in southeastern Minnesota have. A lot of them have to do with funding, and they were very, I think that the legislators received them very well, and we also had opportunity during the break to speak with a few of them. So I'm really glad that they came. We haven't had one of these for a couple of years, and it was just really worthwhile.
Mr. Munoz.
Yeah, just kind of follow up to what Julie was talking about. I spoke to the individuals that kind of organized it, and they just couldn't tell me. They told me multiple times how great a job our staff, from maintenance staff and our technology staff, that really helped them get it organized, and everything ran very smoothly. So thank you, Heather and Scott, for your teams for supporting this, because it went really well.
Okay. Well, moving to our action agenda, consent agenda. Does anyone want any item removed for separate consideration? Is there a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Munoz.
Yes, we do have 3 retirements that I would like to bring to our attention. The first one is Becky Schumacher. She's a kindergarten teacher at Montessori program in Franklin. Her retirement is effective at the end of June 3rd, 2019, and she has been with the district for 20 years. The next one is Annette Shimoleski. She's a receptionist secretary at Riverside Elementary. She will retire at the end of January 25th. I guess she did retire January 25th, 2019, and she has been with the district 5 years. And the last one is a paraprofessional, Janice Melvin. She's an elementary paraprofessional at the library in Lincoln, K-8, district-wide school. Her retirement will be effective end of the day, May 31st, 2019, and she's been with the district for 20 years. So we want to thank those 3 individuals for their service to our district and to our students and families.
Thank you. Director Seelinger.
Thank you. I would like to just add a comment about our gifts and donations report that we do twice a year. Thank you for all our generous community members who donate, but did want to highlight a few things that are our PTAs, parent-teacher associations in the district, just on this report alone, have donated almost $20,000 to support our families and students, and that does not include our Franklin families and community, who has donated over $42,000 for their playground, and that will maybe be of interest later on this evening. And also want to thank Hy-Vee for their generous continued work in donating back on their Hy-Vee receipts. If you don't know about this program, please save your Hy-Vee receipts. Anyone can save Hy-Vee receipts and turn them into any school building near them that they go into or drive by, and that's going to be make a great impact and difference to our students this year. So thank you to Hy-Vee as well.
7.01, approval of advertising policy exception. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, I'm going to have Mr. John Carlson, Executive Director of Finance, and several individuals from Falwell Elementary. Just a quick reminder, we do have, it was several years ago, we established an advertisement policy, and there's a statement in there that says we do not allow advertising within, I think it's 100 feet or yards of the schools. This group today is requesting permission for an exception to that policy, so I'll turn it over to John.
Great, thank you, Chair Barlow, Superintendent Munoz. I'm here tonight. I'm just going to set this up a little bit, and then the actual PTSA members are going to do most of the talking. So I just wanted to set the stage as far as how we fund playgrounds. As Director Seelinger mentioned, we kind of have a 3-legged stool funding approach to our playgrounds, realizing that budgets are tight for the district and we don't have unlimited funds to do it all on our own. So normally what we do is we contribute an amount from the operating capital budget. It's about $20,000 per school when a playground needs to be replaced. We have the long-term facilities maintenance budget that can cover the fall protections, so the the ground underneath the equipment. We can cover up to $12 per square foot by state statute. So in the Falwell case, it might be about $28,000 that we can cover there. And then we asked the PTSA to help us with fundraising the balance. In the Falwell project, depending on kind of where they land with what equipment is of interest to them, I'm guessing it's going to be in the $60,000 neighborhood, if that number is correct. So I'm going to turn it over now to Principal Moritz.
All right. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Munoz. My name is Wendy J. Moritz, and I'm the honored principal at Falwell Elementary School. We are very grateful that we've been asked to speak with you this evening and to have this conversation with you. At Falwell, we as the community are very fortunate to have these board members that I'm sitting with tonight. They've been willing to lead the charge in replacing our playground and also the fundraising that goes along with that for that cause. This is a pretty labor-intensive process. We have learned a lot about fall protection, safety codes, things that we all entered in with really no knowledge of. And these volunteers will make a significant impact on our community and the daily life of our students at our school. And without their willingness to do that, this would be extremely difficult, and I'm not even sure if it would be possible. This group has brought forth very thoughtful innovations and ideas to help us raise funds to provide safe and updated equipment for our students. I have the pleasure of introducing this executive board from our Falwell Elementary PTSA. Here, they've all said in a different order than I planned. Here to my right is Ms. Liz Cratchley, who is a co-president. Over here to the left is the other co-president, Mei-Ling Huey. Back to my right is one of our co-treasurers, Mr. James Cassidy. And on the far left is another co-treasurer, Ms. Jolene Fong. And they're going to talk to you a little bit about some of the details of this innovative idea.
Okay, thank you for having us. We appreciate you guys hearing our ideas, and we want to thank John Carlson for getting us to this point and the district for your support in this. So you already know that we have equipment at Falwell that needs to be replaced. It's due to the age and the lack of parts that are available to replace and fix the unit. The PTSA is hoping to replace this equipment quickly for our students. In addition to replacing the structure, we would also like to move the play area closer to an existing sidewalk and blacktop area, which will make it completely handicapped accessible. We have met with the district-approved vendors. We have spoken and received guidance from the district as to current playground and fall protection standards. To install the playground within district guidelines, the PTSA will need to raise roughly $60,000. That is on top of the amount that John has said. I know most of you are probably familiar with Falwell Elementary. It's just up the street from Edison on 6th Street. But just as a brief overview, we are a very small elementary school with 350 students and roughly 250 families. Our PTSA raises funds throughout the year to support many programs for all of our students and families, enrichment opportunities, classroom support, books, technology, and more. Our families are donating and raising about $27,000 annually to support our current yearly programming, which does not include the playground project. Not only is $60,000 going to be a huge stretch for our small pool of families, but we are hoping to be able to raise these funds without eliminating the current programs that we already support. We have held several fundraisers, and we continue to hold fundraisers throughout the year, but we have quickly realized that we're going to need to dip into more than just our small pool of families. So we are looking to involve some outside help. We would like to utilize our location on 6th Street to acknowledge larger business donations on a temporary basis through banners that will hang along the existing fence on the Falwell property. The banners will have a company name or logo on and then hang on the fence facing north, which faces the street side. We plan to keep them up for no longer than 1 year. We believe that being able to acknowledge these donations publicly will provide the best opportunity to get local businesses and companies involved in helping us raise funds for our playground. Oh, that's all.
Oh, thanks. So your intent is to have businesses who would contribute money and then sort of sign their signage as sort of a thank you on the fence.
Yes, like a public acknowledgement. So we will say thank you for the Falwell PTSA, thanks our sponsors, our playground sponsors, and then we will have banners with those company names.
So this is different from just saying, put your ad up here. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
it's-
not using
it's-
yourself as
It's a company logo. It's, yeah, so we'll have one banner that says thank you, to our playground sponsors, and then we will hang the banners of those playground sponsors.
kind of a public space thank you note.
Yes.
Okay.
Other questions, inquiry? This is a briefing item, so.
Yeah,
Ms.
I guess
Munoz.
temporary, how do you define temporary?
It will be less than a year. As we fundraise, we're hoping that we can get this equipment installed this year. So we hope that we can, put these banners up less than a year, kind of through installation. We know that companies, we've spoken to them, and if up to a year is, they'll pay a certain amount. If we say we'll put it up for a month, they are less likely to donate a larger amount. So we are pushing and hoping that we can keep them up for up to a year.
Yeah, I guess I would just remind the board that when we started this advertising policy, we were thinking more focusing on our athletic facilities, and I do know the activity directors have established a price range for a certain size of a advertising, and I guess if the board chooses to allow this, I would ask that we stay in line with what those standards are. I don't want to have multiple different standards, and then we have problems with the athletic fields. Why are they getting a bigger sign for less money than what I'm paying for this sign? So I think they have established some standards on that. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is cracking the door open, and I'm well aware of another school that will be here soon asking for to do this something similar but not temporary. So just things to think about as you're making your decision.
Director Seelinger.
No. Oh. Thank you. I just want to make sure that you know that you are welcome here, and we thank you and appreciate your sitting in front of us. We know that is not an easy spot to be. I think, however our decision goes, which we don't know, obviously, but I just really want to make sure that you are aware that this isn't I guess I'll speak for myself. This isn't personal. The things that we discuss aren't personal, right? We're going to talk about policy up here. And so this is not, please don't take this as a reflection of Falwell School, Falwell PTA, or any of that. We really appreciate what your PTA has done and what your school does for your students each and every day. So I just wanted to make a little introductory thank you. Now we have to talk about policy because that's kind of what we do. So, Chair, you direct.
Just a quick note on the timeline is the way that the resolution is worded is it mentions for up to 1 year, but it also states a period of 1 year from the date which advertising was listed. So by the way it's worded, just for board's awareness, it could potentially be a day short of 2 years advertising could be placed if you actually look at the resolution. So it would be as worded longer than a year.
Can you clarify the intent?
Well, I wrote that resolution, so that might be my fault for the language there, but their intent was no longer than 1 year, correct? And I think I wrote in the background, too, that primarily it's going to be May through September of 2019 if they're able to secure enough funds to get construction going and the playground finished in the summer. But as she said, I think there's probably a chance to generate more revenue if they can say this will be up for 1 year and then it comes down.
Director Nathan.
So Superintendent Munoz, in the athletic policy for the advertising, it specifies an amount and it also specifies a time period?
The policy doesn't state that. It's just when we entered into this policy, we got that group together, established this size of sign cost you X amount of dollars for a certain period of time. The rationale was we don't want this business to get this kind of deal, and then another business comes in and they get a better deal, and then you have people upset that they got a bigger sign for a longer time for less money. So we established a standard for the amount of time and the size of the advertising.
And those timeframes are a year, more than a year, multi-year?
Most of them are more than a year. I do think they have a standard for a 1 year, but I do know, I think majority of the ones on the scoreboards are 2 to 3 years length in time.
Director Workman.
Yeah, a couple things. Do you have any information about other schools, and not necessarily in Rochester, and how successful they've been at using this kind of advertising, raising these amounts? I mean, I'm wondering, are you looking to raise the entire $60,000 amount from this, or
No.
part of it?
A portion of that $60,000 that we need. We are also holding fundraisers. We've been pretty aggressive with what fundraisers we've had this year in order to cover our budget so that everything else that we do can go towards playground. We know that we've talked to other PTAs, and their input on how they've done it at their schools, they've had pavers and they've had signs on their playground, and they said they have not been of interest to businesses and have not generated any revenue or much revenue to help them towards their projects.
But do you have any idea at all as to whether businesses would be interested in doing this? I mean, I'm not going to put Mr. Carlson on the spot and say, okay, tell us how much you have to pay for this size of a banner and so on. I think that would be unreasonable, but.
We have talked to a few that would be interested through ties with our school that we know, parents that we know, or that have ties to those businesses. And they, like I said, I think the feedback was we would pay more for a year. So say I would pay $1,000 if I could keep it up for a year, maybe $300 to $500 if you did it over the summer months of installation.
This crew also did a lot of research regarding other forms of advertising that's out there, looking at billboards and lots of different things to really gather information about would this be cost effective, and would the benefits be great. So they're being a little modest right now, but they have really dug in to look at a lot of those different ways. And like I said when I introduced them, it's a pretty innovative thought and idea. So there aren't a lot of examples out there to draw from specifically to compare to this.
Just a follow-up. I really share Mike's concern about setting a precedent for other buildings. Although 6th Street, it's not like you're driving on Highway 52 or Highway 14 where there's a lot of traffic. But one of the intents on this policy, and I was actually on the policy committee when this was written back in 2011, it looks like we might be up for review of this at some point, was the distraction that it could provide for motorists driving back. And the policy at this point is really very, very specific about that as a concern. I would rather see, my personal preference would be, if we decide we would want to do this, I would not want it to be on the basis of making an exception, but for an actual policy change, should the policy committee bring forth that kind of a recommendation to the board, who would then vote on it.
What they just said. Clearly, we don't want to be using our schools as billboards for advertisers. We don't want to be in the business of just providing space for people to pay to put up ads. On the other hand, I know from experience how hard it is to raise money for playgrounds. And, in the spirit of equity, a smaller school has a bigger challenge and the price tag's not a lot less than the bigger schools. So this would be precedent setting. I think you're right that if we do say this is something we want to support, we would have to change the policy because we couldn't say, I don't think yes to you and then no to other schools. So this is going to be a tough one. On the other hand, we keep talking about community support for our schools, and that includes financial support and inviting businesses to step up and help out. If that becomes part of our culture, if they're going to really partner with our schools, we always give some sort of recognition, and sometimes it's in a flyer or in something that we have at a ceremony. Maybe this is something we need to look at, not just for Falwell, but going forward.
Director Schultz.
I tend to completely agree with and reiterate that as well. So, I think I also agree that the policy does need to be revisited. It needs to be in line with what's been kind of decided for the athletic fields, and does need to be community friendly at the end of the day to help our schools.
Any new comments or different, this is a briefing item and nothing's being decided tonight?
I guess I would encourage the board very strongly not to change the policy. Just in the last few months, if you remember when we were trying to buy some property, the owner of that property was more than happy to sell us that property to allow them to put a sign up by gauge, 37th Street's a lot of traffic. And I would debate the traffic on 6th. I use that every morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, a little before 8 or right around 5:30. There's a lot of traffic. So, I mean, it's really a prime area. I get that. I guess for the person that would have to manage that and make the decisions, if you change the policy and allow it, it would be very difficult for us. So I would be more in favor of an exception than changing the policy, and I don't know if that's acceptable or not. But I do know we did a lot of research when we brought this policy, and what was consistently heard is they do not allow, a lot of them weren't allowed advertising around the schools. I mean, there were a few that if you went into the boys' restroom, right about, kind of like when you go to the truck stops, there's advertisement right there. I mean, the board at that time wanted nothing to do with advertising in our schools. It was really, let's to make it a free-for-all and allow advertising in schools, because where do you stop? Now it's on a chain fence. Somebody wants to put a sign up outside of the auditorium because they donated a large sum of money. It just, where do you want to expose your students to? I mean, they get enough of it as it is. So I don't vote, but I would not recommend changing the policy to allow it. I'd be more to look at some kind of an exception or something.
Director Edmondson.
Thank you. I share all the concerns that have been expressed and would like to point out that there's a big difference between an advertisement, like with a picture of a model with a product and saying, try this, versus thank you to the following businesses who have supported us. And I think that's just a point that needs to be considered, whether that's really advertising.
And I've seen schools where literally right by the playground, they have a sign, they thank all the people. If I was a business person, it's advertising. I'm giving money because my name's going to be out there every time somebody turns down that street. So I know they're going to put a sign and say, thank you for your contribution, but if I'm Quick Trip, I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking how many people are going to see my sign when they drive by it every day. I mean, it's a business decision, and I understand why they think that way, but I don't.
Director Workman.
Just to clarify, I was not necessarily suggesting that we change our policy, but simply that if this was something the board wanted to consider, we should perhaps take a look at the policy, which might be changed. It might stay exactly the way it is. We wouldn't know. So that would be one alternative. And the second would be simply to make an exception for your group, and then we're going to have everybody else lined up at the door for the same kind of things. And then we get into the same kind of difficulty that the superintendent mentioned in terms of, well, how big is your sign and how much are you getting for this? And, I don't know what kind of staff time that would involve, maybe not very much, but I'm a little bit reluctant to open that door at this point.
Director Nathan.
So just to be clear, the exception that we're looking for is the distance, 100 feet of a school and visible to the motor vehicles. That's the specific issue with this request. So the location that you're proposing, are there any other locations that fall outside the 100 feet of the school or not visible by motor vehicles that would achieve the same goal?
I believe we get into city permitting concerns and issues, which this group has also researched. And we've looked into some signage related to, you may also be aware we have a Falwell traffic plan, and that we collaborate with the city engineer, Rochester Police Department, many others for that plan. And so we're aware that it takes quite a feat to get any signage added. We were fortunate enough this fall to change one of the intersections to a four-way stop and move a school crossing sign, and that was a pretty big deal. So I guess in our research, that would be, I don't think that would be possible.
I don't know where it would.
Well, I don't know if you'd have a location
don't have
far
a
enough
huge-
from the building that.
We're pretty
yours-
compact
we're
in
pretty
there.
small,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Director Marvin?
Hey, just very quickly, and you likely thought about this already. I can understand why businesses would like their name to be big and visible. Have you looked into the thought of having some sort of a plaque in the playground where the names of the businesses who've contributed are sort of there in perpetuity, smaller, visible only to those who are in the playground, so families and kids and stuff? I don't know if there would be any appetite for businesses getting that kind of recognition. It certainly wouldn't be advertising.
Probably not as big of an appetite. We have a small school, and so with that, our social media following, our families, our numbers are small. And so that's kind of the trouble that we're dealing with, is it, publicly acknowledging them on a bigger fence that's seen by all of our neighborhoods. We have families from all of these core neighborhoods downtown. We'll entice all of these businesses in these core neighborhoods to know that they're supporting that school.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We appreciate the time you've taken, the thoroughness you provided, and thank you.
Thank you for entertaining that idea. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Just FYI, it'll be on the agenda at our next meeting for vote.
Okay.
Thanks, Wendy.
Okay, approval of purchase agreement for the sale of excess land, briefing on it. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, Mr. Carlson, Executive Director of Finance, will brief us on this item.
All right, this is an update to the sale of the former multi-service building on 9.5 Street Southeast. When we closed that on December 21st and got the check in hand from Olmsted Medical Center, I'm happy that that is done, by the way. Part of the deal is we had to buy the parking lot so that we could reparcel that and then package that with the deal to Olmsted. And so now we're left over with somewhere around 1/4 to 1/3 of an acre of unusable land, but land that we would still need to maintain nonetheless because our name is on that land. And so the land is right off of Broadway to the east. It covers through the railroad tracks there and then just a little bit to the south of there. So there'd be mowing and snow removal that our maintenance people would need to be doing on a regular basis to avoid any such fines or anything with the city. We've looked at this land. There's really nothing we can do there because of the railroad going through there. This is not buildable land where we can put anything in there or do anything with it. So what we did is we went out and talked to the city. The Parks Department is glad to take that land off of our hands for the price of $1, and they would cover any of the legal costs associated with transferring it to their name. So the Park Board, as I understand it, is also considering this request. Maybe have already completed that tonight at their meeting, and this would be getting your approval then to sign off on transferring that deed to them.
Ms. Marvin.
It's a long time in coming. I'd like to move this to action.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? The motion is
No.
all in favor of the
Moving it to action.
moving it to action.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is, be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 535 does hereby approve the purchase agreement with the City of Rochester in the amount of $1 for the sale of Parcel B near the former multi-service building located at 10 9.5 Street, Southeast, Rochester, Minnesota.
Move approval. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 7.03, authorization to reimburse general fund for a proposed school district project. Mr. Munoz.
Yes, Mr. Carlson will also brief us on this agenda item.
All right. So this one is in preparation of an upcoming referendum, hopefully that is successful in the fall of 2019 here, on November 5th to be exact. If we do pass a voter-approved bond at that time, we would be issuing debt in early 2020, so we'd be bringing forward that all to you for multiple approvals. But what this resolution does is allows us, if we have any costs up to that point before the debt gets issued, we can reimburse from the bond. So an example of something that we might incur an expense ahead of time is we are out shopping for land, and if we do find something that we want to bring forward to your approval, we would also probably put in contingency in there that we would do soil boring tests and other environmental things to make sure that it was a good piece of land to build future schools on. And so those costs, we'd want to pay for them and then get reimbursed out of the bond in early 2020. So passing this resolution just gives us the authority to retain that right to pay back the general fund in the future.
This is a briefing item. Any discussion? Is there, Director
I
Workman?
would just like to say, I really like the idea that you're going to pay back the general fund for any of these expenses.
Yes, thank
I think
you.
that's very wise.
I thought you were going to say, what happens if we don't pass a voter-approved bond
Well,
and issue debt?
I thought of that.
I was going to ask that.
In which case, there would be no reimbursement to the general fund. This resolution would just be void, and there'd be nothing to do with it.
So you don't pay for that out of your own pocket then?
Correct.
Oh.
Correct.
Is there a desire, is there a need to move this to action?
I don't have any expenses that need to be done. We would need to do this within 60 days of if any expenses come up. There are none on the table right now. Just trying to be proactive and ahead of the curve here. So,
I'd like to move this to action.
Okay.
Moved and seconded that this be moved to action. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 535 does hereby approve the resolution relating to the financing of a proposed project to be undertaken by the district, establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. All in favor?
I need a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
7.04, approval of technology equipment.
Yes, Heather Nestler, Executive Director of Communications, Marketing, Technology, and Mike Johnson, Assistant Director of Technology, will brief us on this item.
Good evening. We come to you tonight to talk about reimbursement through the E-rate program. So back in October, we had a funding source approved through the Minnesota Department of Education for our infrastructure with technology. And then actually that was in September. And then in October, we had the school board had approved the certificate of participations to pay through that funding. And so tonight we come to you, despite those things being approved, to ask for your approval of using those funds to purchase infrastructure equipment through Category 1 and Category 2 E-rate eligible equipment. And we front-loaded, I think front-load's an appropriate term here, a lot of our dollars that we had allocated over the course of 3 years for this year, because we have learned that the funding source will no longer be available for reimbursement, and we get up to 60% of our funding source back. So this is money that's been approved. It's projects that we have planned for our 3-year technology plan, and now we just want to make sure that we can go ahead and spend that money and then put the reimbursement out there to get 60% back for the school district.
Director Workman.
Yeah, so the numbers in the resolution, does that include the 60% reimbursement, or do we get 60% back?
You get
from
60% back on that dollar amount. So it's a large dollar amount, but
we
you
get
receive
60%
up to 60% back.
Okay, that makes me feel happier.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Is there any timeline on this that we have?
There is a filing window that we need to fit within. We do have some time, but the sooner the better. So we ensure that reimbursement back.
I'd like to move this to action.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that this become an action item. All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 535 does hereby accept the base bid and alternates 1, 3, and 4 for Category 1 equipment in the amount of $255,790.20 from CDWG and accept both base bids and all alternates for Category 2 equipment in the amount of $439,887.83 from CDWG for E-rate program discounts in Category 1 and Category 2 telecommunications equipment necessary to bring broadband, internet, and info, and throughout sites within Rochester Public Schools.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Final action, 7.05, acceptance of proposal from First Student, Inc. and Kennedy Bus Service for Transportation Services. Briefing item, Mr. Munoz.
Yes, at the same moment to call Scott Sheridan, Executive Director of Operations, John Carlson, Executive Director of Finance, Jeff Cappers, Transportation Manager, Eric Brown, Manager of Budgeting. About the whole team tonight.
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
I'm here to brief you on acceptance of proposals from First Student Incorporated and from Kennedy Bus Service for the transportation services. As you remember, we were up here at the last meeting, and we talked about, we briefed you on where we were at with negotiations with First Student and Rochester Bus Service. We specifically talked about base bid B related to the single tier, and based on the results of that meeting, we came back and renegotiated again with First Student and Rochester Bus Service, again specifically focusing on base bid A, which would be keeping the transportation as the current two-tiered system for the next 5 years. Just a quick overview of what happened with this. We did a detailed analysis of both proposals after both of the final negotiations. Kennedy Bus Service was the only company that, the only vendor that submitted for base bid A and B under Area 2. So that was a given that they would, we would ask that they be awarded that contract. Eric Brown was able to take the negotiated results of that entire contract and to do a comparison between First Student and Rochester Bus Service and come up with a projection as far as what the cost would be over each year up and through the 5 years. And again, that's just a projection. Obviously, it could change based on increase in routes. It could change on increase in special ed routes. So that number that we provided you privately was just a projection, and we anticipate it's not going to be an absolute number, obviously. So in the final negotiation with we went through everything and tried to come up with a differentiation between the two. Both companies were very well established, had sound proposals. We're recommending that you accept First Student's proposal. First Student is established here in the community already. We've utilized them the last 4 years. Is that correct, Jeff? On contract, and we've been very satisfied with their service. It's no offense to the other contractor that proposed. It's just that While they were a competitive bid, they aren't as established as First Student. They don't have the transportation hub in place fully yet here in town. As an aside, as we talked about this particular request for proposal for the transportation, we thought when the time comes again after 5 years that we're going to put the proposal. Oh, sorry about that. We're going to put the proposal out much sooner, more than a year in advance, to allow to get more competitive bids in order to allow the whoever decides to put in for these proposals an opportunity to get more established. As we reviewed what Rochester Bus Service, their backs were kind of against the wall. They would have had to be up and running by July 1st, and here we are already in February, and it's a tall task for anybody to do this. So in the future, we're to be considerate for all proposals. We're going to put it out earlier, and that's just an aside. Another part of First Student's proposal that we really liked is they're offering a First View bus parent tracking app, and they're offering that to us at no cost. Their estimated value of that is about $60,000 annually. It's an app that they have developed in-house that's going to allow parents to be able to monitor when the bus is going to arrive to pick up their children or drop them off. Additionally, there's another part of that called the district dashboard that they've offered to us that our in-house staff will be able to view the arrivals and analyze school routes and do on-time performance assessments and all that from that particular app as well. We thought that was a pretty unique feature that they were offering to us that we would like to try as well. So that's where we're at with the transportation.
Director Mark.
So neither one of these, thanks for the work you do. I'm sure that, this is exactly what we need to do, but neither one of these has the option that you looked at of having a two-tier system for the first year and possibly switching to one tier afterwards. It's 5 years. We're doing 2 tiers for 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Nathan?
We've heard a little bit about the difficulty of employing bus drivers. So if First Student were to have difficulty finding bus drivers, the salary costs for bus drivers are fixed in the contract, and that would sort of be their issue, or would that impact at all our costs going forward?
I don't know if I have an answer to that question. They did offer a proposal as far as the wage rates. There's where their anticipation is they're going to raise the rates or their wages in order to attract more bus drivers. As an aside to that, when they don't have enough bus drivers, they're a nationwide company, and they have actually brought drivers from other states and other cities to make sure that they satisfy their contract. I believe even from Illinois, they bring them up here and they house them here and just to do the routes. And they take responsibility to do that. But I don't know the specific answer to your question. I can find out and let you know.
Well, I think we shared with you probably a month or so ago when John did a financial update. We're seeing an increase even into a 2-tiered system, but that's because they intend to raise the hourly rate for their drivers. So, just like any business, you pass that on to your customers. So I think part of our reason our rate is going up is because they're going to pay their drivers more, which hopefully will allow them to attract local drivers. My understanding is they know our routes. They're responsible for driving them. It's not our issue to find drivers, and I know this year they have drivers from Illinois that live here during the week and drive, and then they go home. So it's something that they're responsible for, but I think they're hoping that by increasing that hourly rate, they're going to be able to attract more drivers locally.
Director Sweeney.
Just wanted to clarify about the app, the parent app. We get that free for 5 years. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think that's a great thing. I know the city buses do it, and I think, that would give parents, I think, a lot of peace of mind. And obviously the technology exists, so I think that's a super bonus.
Director Workman?
So we have the original RFP that you sent out, and on the section scope of the transportation service contract and contract length, it says either party may terminate this agreement for convenience upon not less than 90 days prior written notice to the other party. So I'm wondering if at some point we're able to go into a modified two-tier / one-tier possibility, which might involve putting our kids on city buses again, if that would qualify as convenience for adjusting the contract. I'm really I mean, we have to do something, obviously, but I'm really a little bit concerned about we're going to get into an ironclad thing of we must do 2 tiers for 5 years, and then we're stuck, because I'm not at all willing to give up on the idea that our secondary students have to have a later start time. And I know, Mr. Munoz, you said you were going to be putting some kind of a committee together to look at this, which I think is very wise. But the whole reason we got into this to begin with was for the benefit of our students having a later start time. So I just want to make sure that that's not necessarily going to be completely negated in this. That's number one. And number two is, will we have an opportunity to actually see the contract before we approve this?
Yes. You bring up a very good point. And just because if you happen to approve this either tonight or at the next meeting, we still have to do our contract negotiation as far as the language within the contract, and we utilize our own attorney to review all that, and then we would bring it back to the board and have you approve it.
Okay.
Yes.
So anything we do tonight would still be on contingent on final approval of that contract?
Yes.
Okay.
Director Schlusner?
I kind of had a question since in line with Director Workman over there. Is, to me, if this goes 5 years, it feels like giving up on later start times, which we all know is a really bad thing for students. There's entirely too much evidence out there that we need to change what we're doing here. And I do have the same concerns of doing the same old for 5 more years. There's a multitude of reasons why we don't want to do that. So I guess I'd appreciate hearing a bit more of, okay, we saw in one of your updates, Mike, that you're putting a group together. When is a recommendation from this group going to come to the board for how we're going to address this issue?
As I said, we can't give you a timeline. I mean, we have some other big issues kind of going on right now that's absorbed a lot of our time, but we are going to get that group together. If I recall, the current contract has the 90-day as well. I mean, I know we put that in this last round. I don't know if we did the round before, but right now I cannot give you a timeline when that group will come up with a recommendation. I can tell you there's been a lot of work done to determine we can't do it, what we try to do, unless we want to spend another $5 million a year. So the only thing I can think of is, can we do some type of adjusting with a 2-tiered but do it differently? But I don't even think that group has even had their first meeting yet. We've talked about who should be on that group. So for me to tell you tonight when we can come to the board with an idea or a plan, I can't give you a timeline on that right now.
As somebody who does project management, I can appreciate the difficulty in coming up with timelines. So a rough guesstimate would be appreciative. 6 months, a year, 2 years?
I don't like to give guesstimates because people
trying to pin you down.
People interpret guesstimates as that's your word, and when this group hasn't even met, I don't even know how I can even give you a guesstimate. So
then there's no real plan to address this.
As of today at 8 o'clock or 7:30, no, there isn't.
Scott, so there is some benefit of having a 5-year component versus a 1-year. I hear that may be part of the rub. We're being locked in for X amount of time. Could you perhaps advise us or make us aware of what there have been a greater cost of just entered into a 1-year contract versus a 2 or a 3 or 4 or 5?
It would be speculation on my part, but I could see where it would be a significant cost to have a contractor commit to just 1 year without having that 5-year guarantee. It is our responsibility to set the bell times for when school is, and when this committee is formed and meet, and if we decide to change times around, then First Student would have to accommodate that, because we're the ones that set the bell time and what time school's going to start, what time they're going to get out. So we do still have that flexibility within the contract to do that.
Okay, Director Marvin, Nathan, and then Workman.
Just a quick question. If the student population of Rochester either grew exponentially or shrunk, does that change the contract? I mean, how much we pay them? I mean, if they had to pick up way more students than they are now, or far fewer, would that change the contract?
Either way would. I mean, it all depends on each individual route cost. If we have more routes, then we're going to pay that
per
fee
route. Okay.
for more routes. If we have less, then we're only going to pay that fee.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So is there anything in making a decision to contract for transportation in our decision-making that would stand in the way of making modifications that could lead to different start times? I mean, which is leading which is the chicken and which is the egg, right?
You want to answer that?
I don't think there would be. No, I mean, what we looked at, when we talked last time was modifying the bell times within the tiered structure because that's the cheapest option that we have. So I kicked around some ideas from other districts in the state that are looking at this, and we've gotten some feedback and kind of how to go about this. They said it's a very big project. There's a lot of stakeholders involved in this, and I think I've shared that with Scott and Superintendent Munoz, so they're aware of what that would take. And yeah, it's going to be a daunting task. It takes time, is what the district said, because you got to get a lot of buy-in from the community on this as well.
So it's an issue beyond just transportation.
Oh, by far. They said transportation should give input, but they shouldn't lead this, is the advice I'd heard.
Director Workman.
This question sort of relates back to something that Chair Barlow mentioned a minute ago. So, this new contract would be for 5 years, but our current contract is for 4. Is that correct?
Yes.
So is there any reason why we went with a 5-year rather than a 4-year? Is there a big cost savings between a 4-year and a 5-year? I'm trying to understand the rationale for having a longer contract. Or was that what they told us we would have?
Usually, the longer term, you get a better price because they can spread their capital cost out.
Right.
We talked with Osteo and Anoka. That's kind of some partners that I work closely with, the guys. And, if a longer deal, you get a better price because they can capitalize out that cost of a $100,000 bus over 5 years versus 4. You get those short 1-year deals, and you're really driving your costs up.
Right.
So
right.
the
No,
longer,
I understand
the
that.
longer the contract, the better pricing we get.
Have a 40-year contract. Be free.
Any additional comments? This was presented as a briefing item.
Yeah, I guess I would look for a little guidance from the board. Do we need to, we're getting further down the school year. We probably can't just bring it back as it is and have it voted down. So if there's adjustments we need to make, then we'd need time to negotiate with the provider to do that.
Director Seeley.
I don't think that this is, again, I'm speaking for myself, but probably some of my colleagues will agree. I don't think it's any surprise to you that we want to do something about bell times, right? And I feel like what we're just asking for is we're going to keep working on this, right? Like we're just not giving this up. And that's what I feel like we're really asking, just the nodding of head, yes, we are going to continue to do what's best for our students and let them sleep longer. And I know I look at Jeff a lot, and I know this is a lot on your plate, but I think to me, that's kind of the tension of, oh my gosh, another 5-year contract. And, honestly, none of us may be here in 5 years, none of these board members. So we're kind of making those future decisions, right? So I don't know, that's just sort of what so I'm seeing some nodding of heads, right? Like we like to nod heads, that we believe that this is important for our kids to get more sleep and brighter minds are going to figure out how to do it,
And-
maybe within 5 years.
And if I could, the superintendent has made the board aware that they are at the beginning stage of looking at bell time. So I think we have the answer to the question, and we will need to trust the process, all involved. And so is there anything you need us to do tonight, or you just wanted to brief us regarding this, or?
I guess I would just say, we're obviously committed to trying to do something. We invested 1.5 years working with the city transportation on this and had some financial investment in that as well. But we felt that we could not recommend spend an additional $5 million every year to do that. That doesn't mean we don't support the research and want to do that, but I can't honestly tell you we can come back and find a solution. I can tell you we're committed to looking for a solution, but we may get into it and talk to activities and everything else. It may not, I don't know. I just don't want to make a commitment to something that I may not be able to deliver. I can commit to you that we'll do everything we can to look for possibilities, but I can't guarantee that we can come back with one that will work right now.
I don't know that between now and the next meeting, anything is going to happen, or you're going to uncover any additional information that would make this any better than it is now, so I'd like to move to action.
Second.
So moved and second. Be moved to action. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 535 approve the routing cost proposal from First Student, Inc. for base bid A, Area 1, and the routing cost proposal from Kennedy Bus Service for base bid A, Area 2, for transportation services for the term of July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2024.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion?
So on the app for the parents, who's responsible for providing training and marketing outreach materials for that? Is that First Student or
First Student
communications?
will and work with our communications department and our technology department. So there's some security stuff that we've got to do on the back end as well, so.
Okay, good, thanks.
Director Workman?
I'd just like to piggyback on what Director Nathan said concerning that. I'm much encouraged by the fact that we do have this, or will have this opportunity to have an app, so that if we do need to adjust bell times that are significantly different from what they are at the moment, that this will maybe help give parents a little bit more peace of mind to know the bus is going to be 5 minutes late today, so my child does not have to spend another 5 minutes standing in the cold for the bus, although you've done a great job at shutting school down when that's happened. Maybe that's not
I think
an
the kids
issue,
would
so-
agree with that, but
So
not all the parents.
I look at this app as just, for me personally, as just a huge, huge plus. So I'm really happy they're willing to do that for us.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This meeting is adjourned at 7:33 p.m.